Lesson 1, Macronutrients. This lesson is dedicated to macronutrients in all of their glory, but I will sneak in 3 or 4 micronutrients along the way. You may have heard people talking about macronutrients or macros. This lingo isn't just for CrossFit enthusiasts. Macronutrients are simply protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Done and done. These are needed for growth, energy, and bodily functions. Hence, their importance in helping the processes that are needed for efficient and well-functioning fertility. The approach to proper amounts and types of macronutrients has changed dramatically over the years and is often a hot topic. One of those, only eat protein and fat, fat-free is best, and the list goes on and on. It is also influenced by politics and big business. Although there are many nuances and no one-size-fits-all approach to nutrition and macronutrients, I am here with one thing in mind: your health and maximal fertility. Therefore, I'm going to give you some background info on the importance of each when it comes to your fertility, major takeaway points, easy to follow guidelines, and mini win applications. And remember, our goal is to get your macronutrients from whole food. So let's start with fat. Why? Because fat is back, baby. Back in Module 3, we purged trans fats and most vegetable and seed oils, but not all fat is created equal. Let's take a quick stroll down memory lane to see how we got to our current fat belief system. Fat got a bad rap that really established its roots in the 1960s and 1970s after the Sugar Research Foundation conducted its own research investigating sugar and fat as risk factors in cardiovascular disease, and they paid Harvard scientists to minimize the hazards of sugar and promote fat as the real enemy. So this snowballed into fat shaming, and I'm not referring to body image. I'm talking about everyone from manufacturers to national governments encouraging the avoidance of fat and encouraging substitution with processed food, sugar, and fat alternatives. This is how things looked. The enemies: eggs, red meat, high-fat dairy, and the B word, or butter. The heroes became fat-free anything, margarine, skim milk. Can't forget to keep the dairy lobbyists happy. Although I find myself nostalgic for the 90s when I was cruising in my Nissan Altima and jamming to my Alanis Morissette mixtape, I blame this decade, among others, for creating some of the most severe health detours that we have ever seen. One of these was the low-fat revolution. Fat was the devil. The grocery stores were stocked with food proudly proclaiming to be fat-free, and you could eat a whole box of red vines or pasta without a care, since it was fat-free. It was time for that mouth-watering margarine, fat-free dressing, and delectable rice cakes, leaving you with that bone-dry desert mouth and cardboard aftertaste. The only way to lose weight was to eat fat-free and taste-free, right? Diet Coke was fat-free. Fat-free ice cream and frozen yogurt were all the rage. Yet, we all seemed to gain weight. We were never satisfied. We were constantly hungry, but felt less guilty snacking on the fat-free crackers or guzzling some skim milk. Waistlines expanded. Eggs became synonymous with heart disease. If you were brave enough to eat an egg, you sure as hell better only eat the tasteless and nutrient-devoid egg whites. Remember when they came up with that unnamed fat substitute? People went nuts. We can eat chips again. Yes, but only if you'd like some crippling abdominal pain and explosive diarrhea. Libido plummeted. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and infertility rates soared. Coincidence? I'll let you be the judge. The big fat truth. I love fat, but let's be a bit more discerning. As I said before, not all fat is created equal. To review, here are the not-so-savory fats. Trans fat, which is definitely a real fertility enemy. Eating this can lead to drastic reduction in fertility via inflammation and ovulatory disorders, among other mechanisms. They increase inflammation, they impair glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity, which is bad for everybody, especially if you have PCOS. So we purged these processed foods and most seed and vegetable oils and decided that fast food had to get the boot. What's the other fat that's not so savory? excess omega-6 fatty acids. These guys are also very pro-inflammatory. Here we go with that inflammation thing again. See a pattern? Let's address this more below when we talk about my fat Fab 5 or 5.5-ish. These include coconut oil, olive oil, grass-fed butter, ghee, and avocado. These fats have fat superpowers. They contain fat-soluble vitamins and minerals. Some support beneficial bacteria in the gut. They help the body manage inflammation. They regulate hormones, and so much more. What to keep in mind when you're thinking of fat and what you eat? Don't actively remove fat from your food when cooking. Don't take the skin off your free-range chicken. If you're going to eat eggs, which I hope you do as long as you tolerate them well and they're pastured and organic, please don't remove the yolk. Make sure to add healthy fat to each and every one of your meals. It helps stabilize your blood sugar, absorb certain vitamins, and keep you full. So now on to a related subject and my first sneaky micronutrient, omega-3 fatty acids. At this point, most of us have heard about the bennies of omega-3s. What are these omega-3s anyhow, and why the hell does my ovary or his sperm care? Omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids are types of polyunsaturated fatty acids, or PUFAs. They are part of the essential brigade in that it is essential that we get them from our diet, as our bodies cannot make them on their own. Back in the day, which was a Wednesday by the way, we skipped and frolicked, hunting and gathering our food, and we led a blissfully balanced omega life, other than the fear of being attacked by a large predatory animal or getting some life-ending infection. Omega-3 and omega-6 do best when they are in balance, like two kids on a teeter-totter. Unfortunately, with the surge in vegetable oils and processed food in the last decade, there's no scarcity of omega-6. Although essential, we have taken these bad boys to a whole new level. Excess omega-6 is no good. It is involved in the excessive production of prostaglandins and inflammation. This imbalance in omega-6 to omega-3 and subsequent inflammation flurry is responsible for a whole host of diseases. Many Western diets tout omega-6 to omega-3 ratios of up to 40 to 1. That's 40 omega-6 to 1 omega-3. And let me tell you, sperm care about these ratios. Increased ratios of omega-6 to omega-3 are implicated in decreased motility and number of sperm. Also, this ratio has been shown to be significantly higher in infertile men. Omega-3 and omega-6 are part of the cell membrane that surrounds the sperm. If this is compromised, it can compromise the ability of the sperm to fertilize the egg. So let's talk about omega-3s. The two big players when it comes to health and fertility, omega-3s, are DHA and EPA. These can come from animal or plant sources. There's a bit of debate surrounding the idea of getting omega-3s from plant sources, but here's the breakdown. Plant sources contain omega-3 ALA. So things like walnuts, those have these types of fat. But then the body must convert this to DHA and EPA. And the body isn't that great at doing this. This conversion requires adequate amounts of zinc, iron, and B6, which is a problem for people with nutrient malabsorption. Takeaway points are that animal sources of omega-3s tend to be your best bet. If you're a vegetarian, algae may be the way to go. Why omega-3s are essential to rocking your fertility world. Number 1, tame the flame. They reduce inflammation, and that is the goal of all humans, especially those trying to conceive. EPA competes with omega-6s to decrease inflammation, and DHEA itself is involved in resolving inflammation. Number 2, keep the free radicals at bay. As we spoke about earlier, sperm are at extremely high risk from damage from oxidative stress. Omega-3s are potent antioxidants. The bottom line? Well, let's look at research and the results. DHA can restore fertility by correcting low sperm count and abnormally shaped sperm. Omega-3s are positively related to sperm morphology. Antioxidant properties are enhanced by omega-3s, leading to improved sperm count, motility, and morphology. Omega-3s can also increase uterine blood flow. They can possibly even increase and improve cervical mucus. Now, once again, omega-3s from animal sources are best. So here's the kicker. In my ideal utopian fertility world, we would all be dining daily on wild-caught salmon that had lived a good life in clean water. But that just ain't the case. So due to the importance of omega-3s, the fact that they are best absorbed from animal products such as wild-caught salmon, and taking into consideration the state of our waters, I believe that taking a supplement is definitely the way to go. That is why omega-3s are the first of my essential fertility supplements. Now, I'm still going to include wild-caught Alaskan salmon and sardines in my fertility food matrix, but only from trusted sources and in limited quantities. Finally, it's my recommendation that you do not take flaxseed. This guy is a potent phytoestrogen. So it acts like an estrogen and it's far more potent than soy. So what omega-3 supplements to take? Zymogen offers many options, one of which are their monopure formulas. Now a bonus option is something called Omega Pure Krill. Not only does this have omega-3s, but it also has this crazy potent antioxidant called astaxanthin. Wait till you hear this. Astaxanthin is 6,000 times more potent as an antioxidant than vitamin C, 800 times more potent than CoQ10, and 550 times more than vitamin E. Added bonus, as if this weren't enough, it's shown to improve skin elasticity, decrease age spots, and decrease wrinkles. In fact, it's improved sperm capacitation in studies, which is that ability for the sperm to penetrate and fertilize the egg. Studies on astaxanthin have also shown that it improved morphology, viability, and motility of sperm. And if you don't choose Zymogen's Omega Pure Krill, there's also other great options like the one listed below. So that's the skinny on fat and why certain fats are fertility foes and others are fertility friendly superstars. Again, it's fine to get omega-3s from diet, but I 100% recommend taking a supplement to augment this and keep your exposure to mercury down. More on this a bit later. Now it's time to mosey on down to protein. Protein, what is it and what is it used for? The building block of cells, tissue growth and repair, communication, regulate body functions, building blocks for enzymes for immune system function and digestion, and used to make hormones. Just a quick look at this list makes it apparent that some protein is needed for proper reproductive function. However, 3 amino acids in particular are real standouts. Amino acids are the building blocks of protein. There are hundreds of amino acids. The body uses 20, 9 of which we can't make on our own. Therefore, these are called essential amino acids, as in it is essential that we get them from our diet. A few amino acids have been well studied with respect to fertility. The first is L-arginine, and this one is conditionally essential, which we'll get to a bit later. This bad boy can increase blood flow to the ovaries, uterus, and genitals. It can increase nitrogen oxide production, which is important for erections and sperm quality. It has also been shown to increase motility and sperm count and lead to successful pregnancy. And some studies with oral arginine in poor responders to IVF improved ovarian response, endometrial receptivity, and pregnancy rate. L-arginine can also improve cervical mucus production and support healthy libido. It's obvious how this supports fertility. Zymogen offers this in a product called NO-Max ER. The next amino acid is L-carnitine. L-carnitine is actually made up of 2 amino acids, lysine and methionine. It's an important player with regard to sperm health. Has antioxidant properties that protect from oxidative stress It helps shuttle fatty acids into the sperm mitochondria, which use this to generate energy. Think sperm motility. It helps then with sperm count and motility, and it works together with coenzyme Q10. Meta-analyses have showed it improves pregnancy rate and improves sperm motility. This is available through Zymogen in a product called Carnite X. And finally, we have L-glutamine, which is conditionally essential as well. Discussed in Module 3, but we've got a bit more to review. It improves gut health by helping the intestines to rebuild and repair. It keeps the gut sealed. It supports detox processes, plays an important role in immune system function, and it's required for the body to make glutathione, which is a really strong antioxidant. It improves metabolism, it may improve blood sugar control, and it's found in several Zymogen supplements that will be mentioned in Lesson 3. So what does it mean to be conditionally essential? When the body experiences periods of extreme trauma or stress, non-essential amino acids become conditionally essential or conditionally indispensable. So this basically means that the demands of recovery may result in the need for these non-essential amino acids to be greater than the body's ability to produce them. So as a result of these demands, the body's supply of non-essential amino acids must be provided by the diet. Here's that stress term again. We know that many of our bodies are functioning under prolonged stress, so it seems logical that these conditionally essential amino acids may be becoming more and more depleted. All right, then, final stop, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are sugars, starches, and fiber found in a multitude of whole foods as well as processed foods. Now, we could talk about carbs forever, but here are some of my recommendations, notes, and tips. I'd ideally like you to get your carbohydrates from organic vegetables and fruit. Typically, they are also great sources of fiber, phytochemicals, and microbes. Small amounts help manage blood sugar levels, which maintain your staying power or your willpower. And eating starches and carbohydrates from whole food sources in conjunction with fat and protein helps regulate insulin levels as well as tell your brain that you aren't starving. Remember, if your body thinks it's starving, it may do crazy things like, keep your body from getting pregnant. Carbohydrates from the right sources help give you energy and support the good bacteria in your gut by providing the gut bacteria's favorite food, fiber. Now, each person does well with varying amounts of carbohydrates, but as I mentioned earlier, a good recommendation is to allow for 20% of your calories, or basically just 20% of your food, to come from fruits, veggies, and seeds, nuts, and occasional sprouted grains. Now, there are 3.5 notable exceptions. People in adrenal overdrive or adrenal fatigue, women with PCOS, and people with impaired gut health. These groups may do well with even tighter carbohydrate restriction, particularly that of fructose. So fructose is a sugar that comes from plants, most notably fruit. But don't worry your little head, I've got you covered. When we talk about the fertility food matrix in the next lesson, I'll review how I consider fructose content in food to help guide my selection of fertility fruits and veggies. Just know that if you fit into one of the above categories, you may have better results by minimizing carbohydrate and fructose in your diet. Now, I did say 3.5 earlier, and the half refers to endurance and high performance athletes. If you do yoga 3 times a week or jog for 30 minutes a day, you are not an endurance or high performance athlete. Now, don't get all offended on me. These activities are awesome and perfect for the needs of this program, but they don't require you to consume more food, particularly more carbohydrate. However, if you're training for a marathon, your needs are quite different. You may need more carbohydrates, including starches, to maintain your fitness goals and stay full and satisfied. I still recommend combining these with fat and possibly protein. So some more basic food guidelines, which is kind of a review from the recommendations in Module 3. Number 1, we want to eat tons of veggies, healthy fat, and protein and fruit. Choose organic produce if possible, and always consider things like availability and budget or cost and you can even look at the Dirty Dozen or Clean 15. Choose meat that's organic and grass-fed, chicken and eggs that are organic and free-ranged or pastured. Limit seafood, but when you eat it, stick with wild-caught salmon, sardines, anchovies, and cod. Again, I recommend avoiding dairy. I know it totally sucks because I haven't met a cheese I don't like, especially if you have conditions like PCOS or endometriosis. However, if you do choose to eat dairy, choose dairy that comes from grass-fed organic cows and goats. Choose raw, unpasteurized dairy, and make sure to find good local resources. Consume fermented raw dairy like kefir, and always choose whole fat. No skim milk here, folks. I also recommend avoiding most grains. If you choose to consume grains, look for grains with a lower glycemic index, and please consider the following to decrease phytic acid: soaking, fermenting, and sprouting. Hopefully now you have a great grasp on macronutrients and their place in overall health and fertility. You also have some insight on key guidelines when it comes to how much of each to include in your diet and sources to get them from. It's time to take some action. Print or download the Pantry Essentials shopping list and the Refrigerator and Freezer shopping lists to help guide you on stocking up on fertility boosting macro and micronutrients. Start looking over the recipe roundup and choose 1 or 2 meals, smoothies, or salads that look delicious and or intriguing to you. I provide you with tons of recipes to get you started and give you a solid foundation. However, feel free to branch out from here and use the shopping list and fertility food matrix to guide you. If you make one of the recipes in the recipe roundup and love it, please share it to the Facebook group. Likewise, if you find an awesome recipe that fits the guidelines in the course and spotlights fertility foods, please share that as well. And definitely consider booking out specific time slots in your schedule for meal planning, grocery shopping, and cooking. Okay, my friend, it's time to meet the micronutrients. I'll see you in the next lesson.